And today we're doing something a little bit different. We're talking about the broader category of demystifying ICF credentialing, and I'm so pleased that we have a presenter who is part of the ICF credentialing process, Mrs. Emily Allen, who's credentialing coordinator, and she's here to help us follow that roadmap to either renew or obtain our credential. So without any more talking, let's get started.
Okay, so again, as Jane mentioned, my name is Emily Allen. I'm a credentialing coordinator here for the ICF. I've been with the ICF for almost 3 years now and have been a credentialing coordinator, and I have also worked in the program accreditation department, so I've done a little bit of everything. I'm going to discuss with you today the definition of demystifying and how I can help you demystify the credentialing process. The definition of demystifying is to make a difficult subject clearer and easier to understand. And my goal for this call is to make the ICF credentialing process clearer and easier to understand. Are you guys able to see my screen okay?
Yes, we can see it. Thanks so much, Emily.
Okay, bear with me just one moment. So the ICF offers 3 different individual credentials, the Associate Certified Coach, or the ACC, the Professional Certified Coach, or the PCC, and the Master Certified Coach, or the MCC. And the main difference between the 3 credentials is the number of coach-specific training hours and the number of client coaching experience hours that are required. Your first step in qualifying for an ICF credential is to complete coach-specific training. To ensure quality training, ICF accredits and approves coach-specific training programs that meet its high standards, and ICF offers 3 different types of program approval for coach training programs. That's the Accredited Coach Training Program, or ACTP, Approved Coach-Specific Training Hours, or ACSTH, or Continuing Coach Education, or CCE. I'm briefly going to go over each of the 3 different types of program approvals. An Accredited Coach Training Program, or ACTP, is considered an all-inclusive coach training program. They deliver a minimum of 125 hours of coach-specific training, 10 hours of mentor coaching, observed coaching sessions with instructor feedback, and a comprehensive final exam that evaluates a student's coaching competency. Approved coach-specific training hours, or ACSTH programs, are considered an a la carte coach training program. They are required to deliver a minimum of 30 hours of coach-specific training and observed coaching sessions with instructor feedback. So the main difference between an ACTP and an ACSTH program is one is all-inclusive and delivers almost everything that you need to apply for an ICF credential, where an ACSTH program just delivers the hours of coach training, and you'll need to meet the other requirements like mentor coaching on your own. The third type of approval that we offer are Continuing Coach Education, or CCE program approvals. This is intended for coaches who already have ICF credentials or who have completed basic coach training. CCE programs may include advanced coach training that directly relates to or expands upon the ICF core competencies, and that would be considered core competency continuing coach education. They may also include training and skills that contribute to the professional development of the coach. For example, personal development, coaching assessments or tools, business building, or other material that falls outside of the core competencies, and that would be considered resource development, CCE. You all should have a credentialing guide that outlines the credential requirements and the different paths that you may follow to be awarded an ICF credential. If you do not have the credentialing guide, you may download it from the handout section. I'm going to switch my screen here and go to the credentialing guide. So this guide to credentialing is an overview of all of the requirements depending upon which application path that you are following to achieve the credential. So for example, for the Associate Certified Coach, there are 3 different paths that you can take depending upon the type of coach training program that you completed. If you complete an ACTP program, then you may apply for the credential via the ACTP path. If you complete at least 60 hours of training through an ACTP or an ACSTH program, then you would apply for the credential via the ACSTH path. If any of your training is from non-ICF approved sources or from continuing coach education, then you would apply for the credential via the ACC portfolio path. And each path has different requirements based upon the type of training program that you completed. The same can be said for the PCC credential. There are 3 different paths that you may follow. If you complete an ACTP program, then you may apply for the credential via the PCC ACTP path. If you complete at least 125 hours of coach-specific training through an ACTP or an ACSTH program, then you may apply via the ACSTH path. And if any of your training is not approved or from continuing coach education, then you would apply for the credential via the PCC portfolio path. The third credential that we offer is the Master Certified Coach, and there is just one path to follow to achieve that credential. And those requirements are outlined here. I apologize. Let me get back to the main screen of my PowerPoint. So now that we've reviewed the credentialing guide, we're going to review where you can find coach training. ICF offers 2 different resources that you may use to find ICF approved or accredited training: the Training Program Search Service and the ICF Event Calendar. There are over 1,000 programs that are currently approved or accredited by the ICF, so you may use different search filters on the Training Program Search Service to narrow down your options to find a training program that best fits your needs. You may also find upcoming events or training using the ICF Event Calendar by going to Events and then Calendar, or by using this direct link right here. And from there, you'll be able to find upcoming events that are posted on the calendar. Now I'd like to review some of the common mistakes that we see when individuals are submitting their applications. The first is purchasing the wrong application. Because the type of training program that you complete dictates which application path that you will follow, we have a brief survey that you must first complete to ensure that you purchase the correct application, but we still have some individuals that purchase the incorrect application. So please pay attention to the answers that you provide in the survey to ensure that you purchase the correct application. And you may also refer to the credentialing guide to ensure you are purchasing the correct application path for which you qualify. So for example, if you've only completed part of an ACTP program, you would not purchase the ACTP application, you would purchase the ACSTH application, because that is the application for individuals who have just completed part of an ACTP program. Another mistake that we commonly see are client coaching logs not meeting the requirements. We frequently receive client coaching logs that do not meet our requirements. So please be sure to review the client coaching log requirements available on the website before you submit your application to prevent delays in the application process. The third common mistake that we see most frequently is confusion around the Coach Knowledge Assessment, or the CKA. Many individuals think that they must complete the CKA when they submit their application. However, once your application has been submitted and reviewed by our staff, then you will be sent a link to complete the CKA. You may find out more information about the CKA, sample questions, and frequently asked questions at the website coachfederation.org/CKA. The final common mistake that we see are recordings to performance evaluations that don't meet the requirements or do not pass at the expected credential level. On the next two slides, I will provide our suggestions as to how to best prepare for your performance evaluations. Before preparing for your performance evaluations, study the ICF Core competencies and observe them in your coaching. We suggest that you have your mentor coach provide feedback on how your coaching demonstrates each of the ICF Core competencies and which competencies you might need to practice. The ICF competencies comparison table provides information about what assessors are listening for when they conduct your performance evaluations. We suggest that you record several coaching sessions and select one session that demonstrates use of a wide variety of the ICF Core competencies. Review your selected session and make sure the conversation is clear, audible, and that only first names have been used during the coaching session. The quality and proximity of the recording device used is typically more important than the file bit rate in regards to the overall quality of the recorded file. And an audible recorded coaching session will result in lower scores for the performance evaluation, as well as delays in the credentialing process. The use of services such as Skype are not recommended to produce recordings for the performance evaluation due to possible disconnections during the sessions. If you are applying via the ACC Portfolio, PCC ACSTH, PCC Portfolio, or MCC Portfolio application paths, you will be required to pass a performance evaluation. Files submitted for the performance evaluation must be of a complete coaching session that is not edited, that lasts between 20 and 60 minutes. Those that exceed 60 minutes will not be scored. Files should feature an actual coaching session between you and a paid or pro bono client that is not part of a coach training program. The client may not be a coach unless they are a regular client. Files should be submitted in one part because multiple files for one coaching session will not be reviewed. Files should be submitted in MP3 or WMA formats. Video files and other formats will not be accepted. Files should be 95 megabytes or less, and you may use a lower bit rate to decrease file size if needed. The files need to be uploaded when completing the online credential application. Providing a URL to download or stream audio recordings will not be accepted. Files should be labeled, named with your name and a number, i.e. Joe Smith 1 MP3 3 and Joe Smith 2 MP3. Now I'm going to go over some of the requirement changes that we will be introducing beginning October 1st, 2016. Currently, we can accept client coaching experience from before you started a coach-specific training program. As of October 1st, 2016, we will only accept client coaching experience from after you start a coach-specific training program. These changes are only for the ACC and the PCC credential experience requirements. So you'll see here that beginning October 1st, 2016, all ACC applicants will be required to complete 100 hours of client coaching experience following the start of their coach-specific training. At least 25 of these hours must occur within the 18 months prior to submitting the application for the credential, and all ACC applicants will still be required to have a minimum of 8 clients and 75 paid client coaching experience hours. Currently, for the PCC applicants can demonstrate their coaching experience in one of two ways. Either A, a coaching log demonstrating 750 hours of coaching experience with at least 25 clients, or B, a coaching log demonstrating 500 hours of coaching experience with at least 25 clients following the start of their coach-specific training. At least 50 of these hours must occur within the 18 months prior to submitting the application for the credential. So if you are going to be using client coaching experience from before you started coach training, you need to have 750 hours of coaching experience, and you must complete all of the credential requirements and submit your credential before October 1st, 2016. Effective October 1st, 2016, all PCC applicants will be required to demonstrate their coaching experience according to option B, which is 500 hours following the start of their coach-specific training. ICF research has revealed several reasons coaches benefit from being a credential holder. Earning an ICF credential can make a difference in your business. Coaches who hold a professional credential report higher earnings than their non-credentialed peers. Clients with credentialed coaches are more satisfied with the coaching partnership and more likely to recommend coaching to others. And members who hold an ICF credential enjoy an additional benefit, which is a free listing on the ICF Credential Coach Finder. The Credential Coach Finder can help you connect with individuals and organizations who seek your coaching services. Anyone serious about building or maintaining a coaching business should pursue an ICF credential and become part of this well-respected group that is chosen to regulate itself and provide accountability to clients and the coaching profession as a whole. With an ICF credential, coaches demonstrate not only knowledge and skill, but also a commitment to high professional standards and a strong code of ethics. That is the end of the presentation that I have prepared thus far. So now we can open this up to questions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the credentialing process or about how to maintain your ICF credential. So Elizabeth, I've turned this back over to you so that you can help manage the questions that might be coming in.
Great. I do have one question here, and it's actually kind of a two-part question. So it first says, I currently have an ACC credential using the ACTP path. Do my ACC coaching hours apply to the PCC credential?
The hours are cumulative, but you'll just want to keep in mind the October 1st deadline. If any of the 100 hours that you supplied with your ACC application are from before you started the ACTP program, you will need to submit your application before October 1st and have 750 hours of client coaching experience. If your hours that you submitted with your ACC application are from after the start of the coach training program, then you'll only need to submit 500 hours and the policy change will not affect you.
Great. The second part to this kind of question is, I received my credential before the coach knowledge assessment was required. Do I need to take that to move to PCC?
Yes. As you have not yet taken the coach knowledge assessment, you will be required to take it as part of your PCC application process. So once you've submitted your application and it has been reviewed by our staff, then you'll be sent a link to complete the coach knowledge assessment.
Great. We have one here for continuing coach education. It was asked, can you please review the CCE requirements? What type of hours for what type of training?
Sure. Currently, the credential renewal requirements are that you need to complete 40 hours of continued coach education within the 3 years that you hold the credential. Out of those 40 hours, a minimum of 24 must be in the area of core competencies, and 16 may be in resource development or core competencies. There is a new requirement starting for 2015 credential expiries, where you also need to obtain 3 hours of training in the area of ethics. And ICF offers a free ethics course that you may take to fulfill that requirement, or you may take an ethics course from another ICF approved training provider, and those 3 hours of ethics count towards the 24 core competency hours required for credential renewal. The only other requirement is that if you are an ACC credentialed coach, you do need to have an additional 10 hours of mentor coaching since you were awarded the credential in order to renew your credential.
Great. We have a bunch of questions coming in. Thanks, everyone. We have, let's see. Are the 10 mentor hours for the PCC in addition to the 10 for the ACC?
That is dependent upon what level of credential your mentor coach held. If you were mentored by a PCC or an MCC credentialed coach for your ACC application, then you will not need to obtain additional mentor coaching. But if you were mentor coached by an ACC for your ACC application, then you will need to be mentored by someone who holds the PCC or MCC credential for your PCC application. So the policy is that your mentor coach needs to be at the same level or higher of the credential level that you are applying for.
Great. Is the CKA a one-time thing, or is it to be taken more than once?
You will only have to complete the CKA once.
Great.
It's only a requirement for an initial application. You will never have to take the CKA with a credential renewal application.
Great. And I guess another kind of question to go along with that is, if you do happen to fail the CKA, can you take it again?
Absolutely. We do offer you the ability to take it at least 3 times in 1 quarter. You do have to pay a fee to retake the CKA, and that's a $75 fee, but you are able to retake it should you not pass it the first time. I will say that graduates of accredited coach training programs or ACSTH programs do have a very high pass rate on the coach knowledge assessment.
Great. Another one on the CKA. I have had my PCC credential for 8 years. Will I need to take the CKA when I renew this year?
No, you do not need to take the CKA for credential renewals. You only need to take the CKA for initial credential applications. So should you decide to pursue the MCC credential in the future, you'll be required to take the CKA with your MCC credential application.
Great. And what if your credential is to lapse? So say you didn't return it you didn't renew it in 3 years and you're looking to pick that back up. Do you need to take it then to get your credential again, or do you just need to renew it?
No, you would just need to meet the continuing coach education requirements and perhaps the mentor coach requirements to renew a lapsed credential. In addition to the normal 40 hours that are required to renew a credential, for each month that your credential is lapsed, the number of CCUs that are required increases. And you can find more information on the Renew Credential section of our website. If you go to Individual Credentialing and then Renew Credential and scroll down to the bottom of the page, it shows you the lapsed credential requirements.
Great. Are coaching hours restricted to individual coaching, or is group coaching considered as well?
Group coaching is considered, but you want to keep in mind the definition of group coaching. It needs to be fewer than 15 individuals in the group, and it does need to be a situation where the group has set the agenda. So workshops do not count as group coaching. If you are delivering training and not coaching, then it does not count as group coaching.
What is the passing grade required for the CKA?
A passing grade is 70% for the CKA.
Here's a good question. Do you recognize credentials from other organizations such as Career Coach Institute or the Center for Credentialing and Education?
It's not necessarily that we recognize their credentials, but the programs that you mentioned are approved by the ICF. So depending upon what type of program approval they hold, that will dictate which application path you'll follow to apply for an ICF credential. If you'd like, I can show you how to check and see whether a program is approved by the ICF or not.
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay. Let me get back to my screen. Hold on just a moment. So you'll use the training program search service to find out whether or not a program is approved by the ICF. You can get to that by going to Individual Credentialing, and then on the far left side you'll see Training Program Search Service. If you enter in a name of a training organization at the bottom of the Training Program Search Service, if they do have any ICF approved programs, they will populate. So I just typed in Center for, and you'll show that Center for Coaching Certification does have an ICF approved ACSTH program called the Certified Professional Coach. That program is 65 hours of approved coach-specific training, so that would meet the coach-specific training requirements for the ACC credential via the ACSTH path. If for some reason the training organization does not have any ICF approval, so for example, I know that John Maxwell's training is not ICF approved, you'll receive an error at the bottom that says no results match your search. So that's how you can determine whether or not a particular training organization holds ICF approval for their programs.
Thanks, Emily. We have someone here. They just wanted to confirm, since I have the PCC already from an ACTP, when I go to renew, I do not need additional MCC mentor coach hours, nor do I have to take the CKA.
To renew your PCC credential, you will not need to take additional mentor coaching hours, and you will not need to take the CKA. To renew your credential, I'll go to the Renew Credential Requirements. You'll see the requirements here where you have to submit the online credential application. You have to participate in at least 40 hours of continuing coach education with at least 24 hours in the area of core competencies. You have to complete the 3 hours of ethics training, and those are the requirements that you would need to meet in order to renew your PCC credential.
Here's another one. So in a group coaching session, if you have 5 people in a session for 2 hours, how many hours does that count for?
That counts as 2 hours because you've just delivered 2 hours of client coaching.
Great. To clarify, when the client set the agenda in an individual or group session, does that meet the requirements?
Does that meet which requirements?
I guess your client coaching requirements?
Well, as long as the individual or the group has set the agenda and according to the ICF Code of Ethics, you have established a coaching agreement with that individual or group, then that can be considered client coaching experience. But you do have to have that coaching agreement in place just to ensure that you and your client are on the same page.
Great. Does it matter how far apart your coaching hours are in your log? For example, if you have a certain number of hours and then a gap of weeks or months before others to add up to the total number of coaching hours?
No, it does not matter as long as we're taking into account the policy change that will be in effect on October 1st. So it doesn't matter if you don't coach for a couple of months and then pick coaching back up. That's perfectly fine. You just want to be aware that if you are using coaching that you accumulated from before you started a coach training program, you do have to submit your application before October 1st in order for those hours to count.
Great. So it looks like we've kind of got all of our answers in our question box kind of run through at the moment. If you continue to have questions, you can submit them, as well as Jane, I believe that you also had a couple questions maybe submitted ahead of time or whatnot. I don't know if those were answered or not for you, if you wanted to share those.
Yes, thanks. I'm still confused about where these CCEs are applicable. For example, I've been hosting this group since 2008, so I have a boatload of those, but I have about 62 coach-specific training hours. Are those, quote, boatload of CCEs useful for the credentialing process?
You can submit CCEs for the credentialing process via the portfolio path. The portfolio path is for non-approved training or for continuing coach education. So for example, for the ACC portfolio path, we can accept all training that are in the area of core competencies. Core competency CCE is automatically accepted as coach-specific training. We can accept a maximum of 12 hours outside of the area of core competencies. So anything in resource development, other skills and tools, personal development, you can have no more than 12 hours for the ACC credential. For the PCC credential, via the portfolio path, again, we can accept all hours in the area of core competencies and a maximum of 25 areas outside of the area of core competencies will be accepted.
So is that in addition, I'm sorry, is that in addition to the 125 coach-specific training hours, or is that instead of?
That's instead of or a part of.
Okay.
So let's say that you have 80 hours from an ACSTH program and 50 hours from continuing coach education, then you can use core competency continuing coach education to meet the coach-specific training hours, and then no more than 25 may be in the area of resource development towards that 125-hour requirement.
Oh, thank you very much. That made it crystal clear.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
So we have another question here. So to be clear, if you already have become a member of ICF based on the 60 hours of coach-specific training, then are you already qualified to apply for your PCC and to satisfy the rest of those requirements? So if you want to kind of clarify between being a member and getting that ACC credential.
Sure. Membership and credentialing are completely separate with the ICF. So qualifying for membership and qualifying for a credential are two completely separate processes. Membership only requires that you complete 60 hours of coach-specific training, but the Associate Certified Coach requires that in addition to coach-specific training, you have mentor coaching, client coaching experience, and perhaps a performance evaluation that you would need to pass should you be applying via the portfolio path.
Great. So you're on your way there if once you join the ICF to your ACC, just a couple more requirements.
Exactly. You just need to demonstrate your client coaching experience, the 10 hours of mentor coaching, and as I said, perhaps the performance evaluation should you be applying using non-approved training or continuing coach education units. And then, of course, once you've submitted your application, you would need to complete the coach knowledge assessment in order to be awarded the ACC credential.
Great. Here's a question on the change requirements in October. So just to clarify, is it the case that all hours submitted before October 1st, 2016 will count for credentialing? For example, I should have enough hours to apply for my ACC by then, but not my PCC. When I apply for my ACC, will all the hours I submitted count towards my PCC if I then apply later?
No. If you are applying for the ACC credential and are using client coaching hours from before you started coach training, and then after October 1st apply for the PCC credential, we will only be able to accept client coaching hours from after you started coach training. So you can use them until October 1st, but after October 1st, anything that was completed before a coach training program will not be accepted as client coaching experience, even if it was accepted for the ACC credential application.
How about, are the training hours incremental for each level?
Yes, they are. So, for example, if you complete 60 hours through an ACSTH program and want to then apply for the PCC, you can use those 60 hours towards the 125-hour requirement.
Great. And we've kind of gotten through our question box. Jane, did you have any other questions that you might want to ask Emily for the audience? As well as if y'all continue to have questions, you can submit them.
The person who's verifying the coaching hours with the clients, do they have to be a certified coach?
You mean the ICF staff member that's reviewing the client coaching experience?
No, I thought that someone had to validate that you had the number of hours of coaching.
No, there's no separate third-party validation process. The process
so a supervisor doesn't have to verify it or something like that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
What you will do is you'll submit your client coaching log with your application. The client coaching log requirements can be found by clicking on Individual Credentialing and then Experience. That outlines exactly what information needs to be on your client coaching log, as well as at the very, very bottom of the page, there's a template that you may download that you may use to submit your client coaching experience. If your log is selected for our auditing process, We may reach out to the individuals on your log to verify that the information in your log is correct. But we would never ask them for any information about the actual coaching session, what it involved, anything like that. We would just verify that the information that was provided on your client coaching log is correct.
Thanks. We have someone here asking maybe if you could explain a little bit more about the portfolio training, especially how it says explain robust documentation requirement.
Absolutely. So for the portfolio application process, if you're submitting non-approved training for consideration as coach-specific training, basically we have to pretend like we're a student of the course. So we need as much documentation as possible. For coach training programs that have not been approved by the ICF, you must submit proof of completion in the form of a certificate or signed letter issued by the program indicating the name of the program, dates of attendance, and total hours completed. You must list the hours of content that are delivered in synchronous and asynchronous settings, and 80% must be synchronous, allowing for the opportunity for real-time interaction between the instructors and the students. You must also provide a self-evaluation of the training program where you compare how the program taught you each of the ICF core competencies. You must provide a concise class outline or syllabus that summarizes the classes that you took, their names, and the time allowed for presentation of each of those classes. And then finally, you must provide student materials that support the content referenced in the self-evaluation of the training that you completed. And these materials may include a student or instructor's manual, handouts, PowerPoint, or any other documentation that clearly illustrates the detailed curriculum. All of this will be uploaded with your portfolio application. Our program accreditation department will review the training to see if it meets our coach-specific training standards. And if accepted, then you'll be passed along through the next process for the portfolio application. If for some reason we find that something is missing, we need clarification, or we need additional documentation from you, then we will reach out to you via email to collect that information or to gain clarity on the training program that you completed.
Great. Jane, I'll pass it off to you to see if you have any other questions while we're seeing if there's any more coming through the question box.
I don't have any more questions. I just wanted to encourage anyone who's on the line. We have about 20 people on the line. If there's anything that you'd like answered, I felt a little silly asking that question about CEUs, but I did it anyway, and it's been recorded. And I'm glad I did.
And we won't say your name.
There are no tough questions.
I get questions all day long, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about any part of the credentialing process.
Emily, when you mentioned that, is there a good way to, if they do have questions later, to connect with the credentialing department? I know there's an email address and you'll have a chat function. If you want to share those resources, that would be great.
Absolutely. There are a couple of different ways that you can contact ICF and the credentialing department. The first would be through our email system. You would send an email to support@coachfederation.org. That email gets sent to our email system, and then it will be directed to the correct representative that will be able to assist you with your question. We also, during the hours of 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, offer chat. So you can chat with us, and I'll show you where you can find the chat window. It should be at the bottom of each of the credentialing pages. And for some reason it's not showing up on here, but I promise that you can chat with us between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Another way to contact us is there are links on each individual page that allow you to reach out to us should you need assistance or have specific questions, and those will also go directly to the support desk. So if you look down here, if you have questions about the Professional Certified Coach credential, then you can submit your questions here. Just click on this box, fill out the appropriate information, and an email will be sent to our support desk so that we can assist you. So there are a couple of different ways that you can contact us just straight from the website as you come across questions that you might have.
Thanks. Meanwhile, we got another question in. So just to clarify, CCEUs do not help with initial credentialing, only with renewing credentials?
That is not correct. You may use CCEUs for an initial credential, but you would apply via the portfolio path. And that is where we discussed where any core competency CCEUs will automatically be accepted as coach-specific training, and then there is a restriction on the number of resource development CCEUs that will be accepted. You may use them for an initial credential, but it would be doing so via the portfolio path.
Will CCEs obtained prior to the October 1 deadline be valid moving forward if someone hasn't started the certification process?
Yes, the October 1 deadline does not affect coach-specific training or continuing coach education units. The October 1 policy only affects client coaching experience hours.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Great. Emily, do you have any other tidbits or frequently asked questions that we haven't really covered yet that you might think would be helpful?
No, I believe that I've covered most of our frequently asked questions, as well as the credentialing process. We are happy to answer any questions that you might have. We're kind of small in numbers. There are only 6 people in our credentialing department that handle all of your credentialing requests, but we are happy to answer any questions that you might have and are here at your disposal.
Great. We do have a couple more questions coming in. Once you apply for your credential, how soon do you receive that link to the CKA?
That all depends upon which credential path that you are applying through. The CKA is the final step in the credentialing process. So for example, for the ACC credential, if you apply via the ACTP path, we'll review your ACTP certificate and your client coaching log, and then you'll be sent a link to complete the coach knowledge assessment. That process takes about 2 weeks. For the ACC ACSTH path, we'll have to review your coach-specific training, your mentor coaching, and your client log before you're sent a link to complete the coach knowledge assessment, and that timeline also takes about 2 weeks. However, for the ACC portfolio application, because we have to review your training, then review the mentor coaching, then review the coaching log, then send your performance evaluation to our assessors so that they can confirm that you're coaching at the ACC credential level. It takes a bit longer for us to send you the coach knowledge assessment. You won't be sent the coach knowledge assessment until you've passed all of these other aspects of the requirements for the credential. So that normally takes about 10 to 12 weeks before you're sent a link to the coach knowledge assessment.
So just to clarify, all other aspects will be approved first before you get that CKA.
That's correct.
Great. Here's another one. What happens if you don't pass the audio recordings, so the performance evaluation recordings?
You'll be given the chance to submit additional recordings for assessor review. It's a $150 fee per audio recording, and our assessors will review your new recording to see whether or not you pass at the credential level for which you are applying. The only stipulation to that is, let's say that you currently hold the ACC and you're going to apply for the MCC. If our MCC assessors listen to your recordings and determine that you're actually coaching at the PCC credential level, we will award you the PCC credential and then give you the opportunity to retake the audio performance evaluation for the MCC credential coach. So it really depends upon which credential level that you're applying for, but you do have the opportunity to retake the performance evaluation should you not pass the first time. And it's a $150 retake fee per audio recording.
And so could you just kind of go through the ACC, how many performance evaluation recordings are needed for the ACC, the PCC, and the MCC?
For the ACC, there is one recording required. For the PCC and MCC, there are 2 recordings required. And those recordings also need to come with written transcripts, word-for-word transcripts of the actual audio recording.
And Emily, if you wouldn't mind just kind of running through the difference between the ACTP and the ACSTH, kind of those big differences between the 2 programs.
Sure. We'll go back to the program type definition. An accredited coach training program, or ACTP, is considered an all-inclusive coach training program. They deliver a minimum of 125 hours of coach-specific training, 10 hours of mentor coaching, observed coaching sessions with feedback from ICF credentialed instructors, and a performance evaluation that evaluates your coaching skills. Those, again, are considered the all-inclusive coach training programs. ACSTH programs are considered a la carte coach training programs because they just deliver the coach-specific training hours. They are required to deliver a minimum of 30 hours of coach-specific training and observed coaching sessions, but the mentor coaching you would have to complete on your own outside of the coach training program. So one is all-inclusive and provides you with almost everything that you need to apply for either the ACC or the PCC credential. The other, ACSTH, is just the hours of coach-specific training and is not necessarily an all-inclusive coach training program.
Great, and that kind of takes us up to the very end of our program. So Jane and Emily, I invite you to add any closing comments you might have for the audience today.
Well, Emily, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said earlier, you've helped make this almost crystal clear for me. And I wanted to remind our attendees that we'll be meeting again next month. I can't tell you what we'll be doing, but our next Career Coaching Community Practice webinar is on June the 15th, and I promise it will be specific to career coaching. And also just to remind you that in July, historically, this group has taken a vacation, and I plan to do that again this year, and so we'll resume in August. But we will be meeting on June the 15th, topic to be announced. And of course, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them.